Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 6 o'clock on Friday the 15th of April. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. It's not too bad a morning, to be fair. It's cool, but it's not really cold, which is nice. The sun is trying to peek out there above the trees, so you never know, we might be in for a nice day. I'm hoping so, because I've actually got a little bit more free time than usual today. So lots of things on my mind that I'd like to get done, but as always, you never quite know what we will get done. I can see, I don't know if you'll see it on the video, but over here we've got a couple of ducks roaming around on the field. I wonder how close I can get before they decide to run off. Yeah, one of them has spotted me already. Yeah, the other one has as well. Let's just see out of interest how close we can get. They're picking up the pace now. It's nice to see. There we go. Right, I can see the chickens are out. Let me get opened up and get sorted out, and I'll catch up with you shortly. Usual, first things first, sort the chickens out, and as if by clockwork, little red ones here. They do go crazy in the morning. Anyway, let me sort them out, check for the eggs, and we'll get in the cabin and have a quick chat. Well, good morning. It's not the weekend. It's the long weekend. So hopefully you've got an extra bit of time off this weekend. If you're of religious faith, then happy Easter or Passover or whatever your particular faith is. I hope you all have a really enjoyable long weekend and take time to kick back, relax, and not get too stressed out about what's going on in the big wide world. Start off today with a little caveat. There's a bloody big fly buzzing around. It's been driving me crazy since I came in from the chickens. And you know how you chase them around? Unfortunately, there's too many hiding places here in the cabin. So if it suddenly starts buzzing around, then you'll have to just deal with it. Anyway, it's not too bad a morning. A little bit cool. If I sound a bit sniffy or croaky, it's because, guess what? I was away for most of the week with work in the far-flung southern regions of the country, and I felt a bit ropey. I did a COVID test, and lo and behold, yep, it's positive, so I now have COVID. So fingers crossed, I can quickly get rid of that over the next few days, but it might slow me down a little bit this weekend, which is not what I wanted. I was supposed to be visiting my mum, with it being Easter weekend and her birthday, so you're not watching, but I'm sure my sister is, so happy birthday, Mum. Sorry I couldn't come visit, but I don't want to share my good fortune with everybody. Yeah, so in terms of the big wide world, it's pretty much the same as it has been for God knows how long now. These mounting crises. One thing I have noticed though on YouTube, and I don't know about you, but over over the last few weeks, I've really wound down the amount of YouTube that I've been watching, and news media for that matter. I don't watch much news anyway, but it's just driving me absolutely crazy lately. Lost my train of thought there. Is that COVID? Or is that just old age? Yeah, YouTube. It's the amount of prepping channels that are absolutely 100% focused on the current military conflict going on in Ukraine, and with a slant to their video of it's World War III, Russia's going to invade Poland, it's going to invade Estonia and Finland and all of these other Eastern Europe countries. There's this real mindset out there, including in the media. Everyone's running around wanting, it seems almost, for this conflict to escalate and turn into a full-blown World War III. I don't really get the mindset. If there is going to be a World War III, then there is going to be one. And there is absolutely no sense in whipping up this frenzy of fear. I don't know whether it's for the sake of YouTube hits and generating more revenue for the channel, or whether these people are just a little bit strange in their mindset. Don't get me wrong, I've been banging on for ages before the Ukraine situation arose about the coming food crisis, supply chain crisis and economic crisis. Been talking about that since COVID started, really, because you could see the writing on the wall. We live in a really fragile, global, interconnected economy. Very few countries, Russia might be one of the only ones, well, perhaps China as well, but they've got too many people. There are very few countries that are actually self-sufficient in anything, it seems. Here in the UK, we're fairly self-sufficient in food. Easily 50% of our food is grown here in the UK. And if we didn't export as much as we do, then we could almost become self-sufficient. The only issue we really have here in the UK is that the climate. We can't grow all of the more exotic, high temperature produce that we've become really accustomed to. If you were to cast your minds back, certainly when I was growing up as a child, everything was seasonal. You didn't have these huge supermarkets that we have nowadays. Everything was high street. There was a butcher's shop, there was a grocery shop, there was a fresh fruit and veg shop, and so on and so on and so on. All of the different things that we commonly use on a day-to-day basis were in small independent shops. There was the odd chain, as we call them now, shop, but that was generally things like clothing and domestic household goods, you know, cookers, fridges, things like that. You certainly didn't have these big supermarkets. And the food that we ate was seasonal. You ate whatever was being grown that particular time of year, and then through the winter months you lived on the stored food. So farmers stored away potatoes and carrots and turnips and all of the rest of things. So there was very little that was out of season, and certainly very little that was actually imported into the country. And that's all been turned on its head now, as Western countries particularly have converted from manufacturing economies to service sector economies. So pretty much everything that we produce as a country is geared around this service sector. It's all banking, insurance, household services, so hairdressers, plumbers, carpenters. There's not much of the manufacturing sector left, and that's particularly evident in agricultural foods. Pretty much everything that we get now is coming from lots of different parts of the world, then been flown in or shipped in, and lots of our sort of salad vegetables and warmer climate fruits are coming from Southern Europe. And out of the growing season here, things like broccoli and cauliflower, things that I buy every week, they're not coming from UK production, they're coming from Southern European production, or sometimes even further afield. Supermarkets have gone out and they've managed to target different countries, and they actually generated either manufacturing or agricultural food production in those countries purely to serve the UK, or in some cases other European markets. America does exactly the same. And we really do need to get back to producing more ourselves in this country. And that's really been evidenced through COVID, and particularly through this latest supply chain crisis with the Russia-Ukraine war. We've suddenly realised, or we've suddenly been forced to recognise, because of what's happened, the fact that we aren't self-sufficient as a country. And even though we don't get, I think it's no more than 3 or 4% of gas that comes from Russia, and that's because it goes through a European network and then we pop it across the water here. So we've been really impacted by this. And I guess the message really that I've been trying to push, and that I'm continuing to push, is as a country we need to be more self-sufficient. And that's going to take years to achieve, if it ever does, because it's a little political hot potato and there's a lot of money involved by the big corporations. They don't want to change what they're doing. And politically, with our environmental rules, saving the planet, we're discouraging farmers from producing here in the UK. We're actively subsidising farmers and paying them to leave land fallow and not produce crops from it and not rear animals on it. So we ought to be more self-sufficient as a country in producing everything that we need on a day-to-day basis. But I wouldn't bank on the government doing that anytime soon. So really that just leaves it up to us as individuals to try and find out ways that we can be more self-sufficient ourselves. And evidenced here, I don't believe for a second that I can ever be really self-sufficient. There are just too many things that I depend on that I can't produce myself. And that's not just food. Energy is one of the things that I would struggle with. I can't make my own diesel fuel for a car. Yes, I'm sure somebody will jump on the comments and say, oh, well, you can use old cooking oil and mix it with a bit of kerosene and you can run your car on that. And yes, you can. But where do I get the used cooking oil from, and where do I get the kerosene from? It's not something I'm producing myself. But in terms of food, it's quite surprising how much you can actually produce yourself, even in a small space. And I've talked about this endlessly in lots of different videos. So my mission, I started it the year before last with an experiment to see how many carrots and potatoes I could grow and if it was feasible for me to store them through the winter. And you'll have seen over recent weeks as I've pulled out potatoes that have been in storage. I believe it is possible for me to do that. You have to get into that routine and you have to understand when to space your crops and then plant them in succession to be able to harvest through the year and have sufficient left over at the end of the year to store. But last year's experiment worked really well, and I think that perhaps this year I could replicate that and perhaps even grow on that. So it is possible to become quite significantly self-sufficient. It's just a case of time, patience, and a little bit of effort. Prices of food, whatever it is that you buy, are massively increasing. Energy certainly is massively increasing. Latest inflation figures came out. Here in the UK, Bank of England was looking for a target of 6.7%. It went past that, it's actually 7%. And bear in mind, these are the official rates. I don't know how many times I say that. You can easily double and maybe more than double those figures, and you would be at around about the true figure. And that 7% increase, or 7% inflation rate, doesn't include the latest increase in energy costs. You might remember I talked about what we have in the UK. It's called the energy price cap, where government prevents energy suppliers. This is for home energy, so electric and gas for your heating, your water and cooking. They prevent the energy companies from going over a certain level per year. It's averaged out. Well, that cap was lifted and it was raised by over 50% this month in April. And there's another at least 25% rise going to come again in October. So the current inflation figure doesn't include that April rise. So it's going to be interesting to see at the end of this month what the figure is. I wouldn't wait around to see what that is. I would just do as I'm doing, do as lots of other people are doing, and just keep banging away at trying to store as much as you can at today's prices, and grow as much or produce as much as you can in your own little environment, wherever that might be. In terms of what we're going to do today, really difficult to know. I was hoping to do a little bit of manual labour outside today. I certainly want to go through the woodpile. I've not even looked at that since last year. Lots of things I want to do with the wood that I have available. I wanted to make a little wood store. I want to make some more raised beds. So lots of stuff. I'm just not sure, given my current state of health, shall we say. I'm just not sure how much physical activity I can get up to. But whatever I do get up to, I'll share with you in the video as we go through the day and the rest of the weekend. Hopefully the sun will make a proper appearance and we'll get some heat generated. It's not desperately cold in here, but I am, now that I'm sat down doing nothing, I am starting to feel it, which is why I'm hugging this cup of coffee. But wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you are staying safe and well. Please do enjoy your weekend. Please do not get overly stressed with these World War III, it's coming type videos, or 3 things to do if the nukes drop. Just forget about all of that. There's nothing you can do if it happens. I don't imagine that it is going to happen anytime soon. I really don't believe that the game plan for the Russians is to suddenly sweep in across Western Europe a la World War II and the Blitzkrieg style. I just don't buy that at all. I do really think it is all media hype and government spin as a big distraction and an excuse to pin all of our woes on this one specific, very recent and short-lived thing. There's much bigger stuff going on in the background. So if we're going to be concerned about anything, I would look at self-sufficiency for yourself and your family and try and figure out how you can be less dependent on government and grid and more reliant on you and your immediate family and do things to produce your own needs rather than relying on everybody else to do it. Because the game isn't over yet. As we go through the rest of the year, somebody put a comment on the comment section on the last video, and it was a one-liner: what food shortage, ? If you're not seeing shortages in the supermarkets or whatever else it is that you might buy outside of food, then well done you. If you've got surpluses, then for God's sake buy those surpluses now. Nobody said what price rise because it is undeniable. So yeah, self-sufficiency. Try and be as self-reliant as you can, and less reliant on government or corporations, because they're not going to be there for you when it all really does hit the fan. Stay safe and well, and I'll catch up with you through the rest of the video.
Well, it wouldn't be the weekend without the greenery. That's the cabbage out the garden room. They're really enjoying this. That's going to have to be part of a long-term plan to try and produce more of my own food for the chickens, rather than relying on the feed from the farm shop. I did take the opportunity to get another couple of bags. You remember last weekend I was talking about the farm shop guy telling me there was going to be a shortage. His bloody geese. He was telling me that his supplier had told him that they were struggling to get hold of things. So I'll just make a point every week. I'll just grab a couple of extra. Nice bit of flowering going on this fruit tree round by the raised beds. Really nice to see. I see the rabbits have been in again. But all of the ones outside now are starting to flower, which is really nice to see. I have had a battle on my hands with these fruit trees out on the field. Rabbits just continually digging and digging, and I keep putting it back and putting it back. But you can see here we've got flowers starting to bud on this one. We've got flowers out in full bloom on this one. Really nice to see. And to be fair, the field is looking very nice. A little bit of sunshine just peeking out now across the top of the trees. Hopefully it's going to warm up and give me the chance to play outside. No sign of the bees yet. It's still a little bit early for them. It's just ever so slightly in the shade of that hedge, but it is still early in the morning, so plenty of time for them to start buzzing around. And there's already a nice little food supply for them, whether that's my trees or whether that's the big damson tree that's over in the corner. You probably can't see it from here with that sunlight, but that's in full bloom and there's quite a lot on there. Anyway, that's just a little quick walk around, just checking on the weather. I need to start checking on that wood pile. That's going to be a proper job, digging all of that out, but it needs to be done. Whilst we're out here, we may as well have a little quick run around. No sign of life yet in those barrels. The potatoes I planted, but that's not a surprise, way too soon. But what is a surprise, in this raised bed, you remember I planted loads of onion sets, and there they are, they're all coming through. Loads over there, so that's nice to see. And in this one, lots of garlic now sprouted out, and we've even got the onions starting to make an appearance, so that's really nice. I just need to get stuff into that one. As I said earlier, the rabbits have been playing again in the strawberry patches. Bloody things. I am going to have to get some netting on there. I think I might have a look at that today and see what I've got. And if I don't have enough, I'll go get some. And again, rabbits have been digging in this strawberry bed. Polytunnel. Well, carrots doing really well. I've got a couple of buckets there. I'm going to plant some more of those. Get some succession planting for those. Potatoes doing really well. I banked up those true potato seeds last week. They're all pushed through again. These early ones that I did, massive growth on those. It won't be long before I'm having to put those outside. And make some space in here. The seed trays, a little bit disappointing, but I always like to show you the failures or the disappointments as well as the success. So we've got cauliflower, got a few of those come through, not as many as I'd like, but we've got some. And same with the swede. This other one's beetroot, and again, disappointing really. There's not much come through there. I might need to reseed those. I will reseed the peas because nothing came out of those. Really disappointed with that, but hey, it is what it is. And I'm hoping to get some tomatoes and tomatoes and cucumber planted as well. It's really dependent on what happens with this sun. Hopefully it will come out and we'll get some planting done and we'll get some work outside done. But whatever I do get up to, I'll tell you as we go through the rest of the video. Well, I figured before the sun gets too far up and it starts to get too hot, well, I'm hoping it's going to get hot, I'd have a look at this raised bed area. I've dug out some of the finer mesh chicken wire out of the little storage shed. Got my stapler. Hopefully the stapler is going to be strong enough to just fasten this to the posts rather than having to get a hammer and some staples out. I'm figuring that I only need probably half the height of this just to do the bottom edge, and that way I'll save on using all of this roll up, because there is quite a bit to cover there. It doesn't look very big, but when you start rolling out the wire, it is. So let me get cracked on with that. I'll cut this into half and see how we get on. Yeah, if I cut this in half, there's probably just about enough to go all the way around. It's going to be close, but I'll get most of it done, and if necessary I'll just double up with some of the bigger gauge mesh. Let's see how we get on. This is not the easiest stuff in the world to cut through, but it's okay. I'm just waiting for it all to start curling back up on itself. Roll back into a roll again. This is not the easiest stuff in the world to work with. It's bloody sharp edges, but just trying to overlap it a little bit at the bottom as well, so that it's flush with the ground, just slightly overlapping. and then pull it tight. And to be fair, this stapler is doing a fine job. I think I've found a place where the rabbits might be getting under the wire. Maybe. Don't know if you can see this or not, but there's like little trails running around the field where the rabbits are coming in from this wooded area and running around, and then they just disappear off up the field. But I've noticed here there seems to be a little track just here where I think they've been managing to get under the old wire. So I've just got a few of these stake pegs. Just gonna interweave that around and pop it into the ground, and hopefully there was a peg here, look, a wooden one, but clearly it wasn't sufficient. Got a little aeroplane flying over. I had a go in one of those small aircraft once, like a little introductory flying lesson. Really nice. Very exhilarating feeling, just banking the plane up and down side to side. You really do feel like you're a bit of a master of the universe. But that's a hobby for people far richer than me, I'm afraid. Nice as it would be, I'm never going to reach those dizzy heights. Dizzy heights. Do you see what I did then? Very nice. I don't think we're going to have any issues now, but famous last words, I guess. Well, that's taken way longer than I thought it was going to, but it's all in round the front, doubled up here, doubled up all the way along here, and down the side. So, fingers crossed, everybody. Hopefully, that's going to solve the rabbit problem. But I need to sit down and have 5 minutes and maybe even a cup of tea. You might remember that I'd planted a tray of peas and I was having really poor results with germination, so I'm just reseeding another tray. And hopefully these will germinate. Really had poor results with peas this last couple of years. I don't know, I can only assume it's the seed. So I've got another packet of seed here, and hopefully these will actually germinate. I'm going slightly over the top here because I'm planting a whole tray, and there's, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, there's 40 cells in here, which is a lot of pea plants. I don't really need that many, but given the poor germination results, I figure just plant it and see what comes up. I'd rather have too many germinating than not enough. I've divided this tray into 2 separate inner trays, and I've got some cucumber and some tomato, so I'll do a cucumber in this one and a tomato in this one. Again, probably going a little bit over the top in terms of how many I'm putting in, but again, I'd rather have too many than not enough, and if I end up having loads too many, I'll just share them with other people. So it's a win-win. It's a win for me if they germinate and it's a win for somebody who will get the extras. That's the cucumber. Gotta make sure I put them back in the right packet so that I know what they are for next time. And on with the tomato. Had much better results last year with the tomatoes than the year before. Regular viewers might remember that year before last I had a huge forest in here, well, in the old polytunnel, but not much fruit. Last year I had less plants. I'm gone a bit over the top there with how many's gone in that hole. Can I save that? Yep, there we go. Yeah, last year I had less plants, but an awful lot more tomatoes. Really good results last year, as indeed were the cucumbers. Last year was the first year growing cucumbers, and I had loads and loads. So fingers crossed we'll get another bumper harvest this year. Well, we're still planting, so it's time for some carrots. I've got 6 buckets already out, and I figure since they've come through pretty well, I'll get another 6 buckets out. So I'll just sprinkle these on. They're far too small to try and put them on any other way. We'll see how they come through. Well, that's the peas, the tomato and the cucumber done. I just happened to notice, so I thought I'd just share with you. I've got all these strawberry plants that I've overwintered. They're all putting out some really strong growth now. They're going to have to get transplanted out somewhere, but I've actually got, in these small pots, I've actually got flowers. And it's only mid-April. How good is that? So hopefully we'll have a bumper crop this year of strawberries. Well, it's still absolutely roasting in here. I'm still in shirt sleeves. It's amazing how hot it gets. Even when it's overcast. It really does get hot. So slightly overseeding to make up for the lack of germination. We've got Swedes in this end and down this bottom end. I'm just going to reseed the cauliflower. And hopefully we'll start to fill in the gaps in the tray. Fingers crossed. Well, I couldn't resist the opportunity while I'm planting. I've got some sweet corn here, so I'm going to give that a go, see if I can't get a decent harvest this year. Just trying to space them evenly out in amongst this soil. I'm just literally digging out. There's going to be more than there was last year for sure. There we go. One more for luck. Just taking the opportunity to fill some of the gaps in this these outdoor beds with some of the plants that I've grown on over winter. These have all come from the runners that the plant sends out. So each year I'm gradually getting more and more plants, which is a really nice position to be in. So hopefully now we've done a bit more rabbit protection, these will be fine. I've also popped some pumpkin seeds just down the edge of here. Family member gave me them and said, can you plant some of these out? Just got to remember where they are. They're down this side and that side, so try and avoid digging them back up again. But no end of strawberries this year. I think I'll do these in the other bed. Certainly no shortage of strawberries. Nice position to be in. Look at these. I'm hoping that we get a bumper crop this year. Overwintering these is definitely the way to go to boost production. Got a couple left. Let's pop that there. You start off with a trowel and gloves and you just end up with your hands. Let's pop one in there. And yeah, I'll pop this in that other bed. Just taking the opportunity to have a bit of a tidy up in the polytunnel and to get a few more pots ready. Hopefully before too much longer we'll have some seedlings that need to go in. used this sectional pot last year for growing cucumbers, and it worked very well. You might remember I've popped one on that side of the polytunnel already. So as I was tidying up, I thought it was time to get this one in place as well before the whole of this side gets full of carrots. The sun's come out from behind the cloud and it's absolutely roasting in here. That's why I've left the door open. It gets so humid, but until I figure out a way of organising these vents a little bit better, I'm reluctant to open them. I could really do with a permanent solution like I did with the door. But as with everything, it's time. I'd hoped to have done a bit more this weekend. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've made a bit of progress today, but with this COVID going on, I'm not as active as I normally am. I'm getting tired a lot quicker. Anyway, let's get the bamboo canes in place, and that'll be it, I think. Well, there we go. That's the planter in place. That matches this one on this side. Just need some plants to put in it now. It's absolutely roasting in here. I think I need to just run around with the watering can a little bit, make sure everything's okay. Same in the garden room. It'll be about time to go home. Amazing how much growth is coming now on these potatoes. They're coming on really quick, which is really nice to see. Okay, we're about done, I think. Well, that's it for today. Nice to see a bit of sunshine, but I have worn myself out. This COVID's making me not as energetic, shall we say, as I usually am. But still got some good progress made. Pleased I got that chicken wire round the raised bed area. Hopefully that'll sort that out. Lots more to do, but not today. I'm going to get myself home, have a rest, have a shower, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please do stay safe and well, and enjoy your long weekend.